Alright, this is going to be part 2 of the Beastars timeline video series. Of course, if you haven't seen part 1 of this video series, you should check that out first. But with that said, let's get rolling. We left off last time with Legosi dropping out of school due to him being placed on the predatorial offender list, and that a horse named Sarah Jessica Parker Yafia would be following his actions closely for the foreseeable future. But before any of that comes to fruition, we begin our journey with a new character named Sabun, or Seven, who is a female sheep. As it so happens, Sabun works for a sportswear company with a plethora of co-workers who are large carnivores. Carnivores who mockingly call her Lamchan and make her feel self-confident when she is in their presence. While riding the train one day, Sabun becomes acquainted with Legosi and makes a gesture that Legosi acknowledges as being rude. Afterwards, Sabun is looking for a cheap apartment in the city and finds out she'll be attending the same apartment as the gray wolf she met on the train. After being freaked out and annoyed by the awkward noises / actions of her new neighbor, Sabun decides to confront him, but gets more than she bargained for. The confrontation ends on a pleasant note though, as it turns out that Legosi just needed help with his electricity and finding a part-time job. We then transition to a milking factory, where cows are being exploited by carnivores for profit. Yafia, the current Beastar, does not stand for this corruption, and puts the carnivores in their place. We then go back into Yafia's past, and soon discover that Gosha, i.e. Legosi's grandfather, was his partner when they were younger. And while the two were young, aspiring Beastars, that all changed one night when Gosha saved a female wolf from some assailants, and subsequently knocked her up.
I bet you're not pregnant.
Thus, relinquishing the role of Beastar to Yafia. We then find out Legosi has found a part-time job at a local restaurant, and upon finishing his first shift, he meets up with his grandfather in an alley, and the two have a heartfelt moment. Back over to Lewis, we see he's received a new prosthetic leg, and that he's giving his graduation speech at Cherryton Academy to maintain his immaculate outward image. Upon visiting Thames Memorial, he becomes engaged with Juno, an engagement that he remarks that nothing good can come from it. But he subsequently wonders if he's starting to fall for the strong, beautiful wolf. Back over to Legosi and Gosha, they decide to have a meal together, but when a rooster decides to stick his beak where it does not belong, Legosi decides to stand up for his grandfather. Gosha, however, was not amused, and was frankly embarrassed by the whole situation. Upon leaving the restaurant, the two get cornered by the birds, and with one fell swoop, Gosha goes from being a harmless little grandfather to a badass ninja turtle who will do anything to protect his grandson. After their victory, Legosi informs Gosha that he is in love with a small, female rabbit, shocking his grandfather immensely. Upon returning home, Legosi meets up with Sabun, but not without being noticed by Haru, who thinks that Legosi may be cheating on her. Legosi then delivers food to some fish and meets an aquatic seal interpreter by the name of Ziguan. Turns out, he also lives in the same apartment complex as Legosi. Upon visiting Ziguan's apartment, Legosi is in for a huge surprise.
Huge
penis.
The next day, Legosi and Sabun decide to go shoe shopping, and during their visit, they run into Sabun's old co-workers, who seem to be a bit aggressive in the sheep's presence. Legosi then decides to step in and dissuades the carnivores from making any rash decisions. But, of course, instead of being appreciative, Sabun gets angry, leaving Legosi and the rest of the male readers to wonder, what the fuck?
You done fucked up!
After finding out that Gosha was involved in a back alley brawl from the previous chapter, Yafia decides to pay his old friend a visit in which he wants his fist and feet to do the talking. But Gosha's pacifist approach dissuades Yafia from getting too reckless. Yafia then finds out that Legosi is Gosha's grandson, and ponders if the gray wolf is strong. While wandering in a back alley, you know, a favorite pastime for Legosi, the gray wolf is offered a drug to increase his urge to eat meat by some nefarious carnivores. After unleashing his assertive side, Legosi lands in the hospital and is visited by his good friend Louis. Such a good friend, in fact, that he gives Legosi 3 snack options. Legosi then admits he's a pervert, to which the anime community says, Afterwards, Legosi receives a generous package from the police station that has an abundance of rice cakes that Legosi decides to share with the other inhabitants of his apartment complex. At the bottom of the package, however, is a letter from none other than Yafia himself. Legosi then sets out to meet the mysterious Beastar, but upon entering the Black Market Alley, finds some interesting graffiti that reads, "Yafia must be killed and eaten." After reaching the large skyscraper where Yafia resides, Legosi finally comes face to face with the confident horse who roams the city at night. After a brief discussion about Yafia's various exploits, it is revealed that the Beastar uses carnivore bones as a vital source of nutrition for his carrot garden, making Legosi realize why Yafia earned the nickname Black Devil. Yafia then makes Legosi apologize for being a carnivore, and after doing so, Legosi proceeds to pull out his fangs from his mouth, proving to himself and Yafia that he is not a reckless monster who is bent on eating others. After a brief battle, Legosi escapes from Yafia's residence and goes straight toward Panda. We then transition over to Haru and find out that one of her college friends is dating a male lion. However, after a horrifying accident where the male lion accidentally attacks the female rabbit, Haru begins to contemplate ending her relationship with Legosi. Gohan, in the meantime, fashions some dentures fitted for Legoshi's mouth, so he could talk normally again. While walking home, Haru calls out to Legosi on top of a bridge and wishes him a happy birthday. The two then go back to his apartment to...
Happening! Cameron, it's gonna happen!
talk about Legoshi's UFO dreams. Afterwards, the two go on a date around town and talk about everything that's been going on in Legoshi's life, including the part where Legosi ate Louis' leg. After listening intently to everything Legosi had to say, Haru informs the Grey Wolf that she wants to end their date by going to the Black Market Alley. Upon entering the forbidden area, Haru and Legosi come across a rabbit meadery. Haru blesses the perished rabbits with a small prayer and tells Legosi that her past insecurities is non-existent at the moment because she has him. Haru implores Legosi to kiss her in the store, to which Legosi divulges the amount of money he has in his bank account and his unpreparedness in starting a future with the White Rabbit. Haru, obviously, is less than pleased by this answer and storms out of the store and the Black Market Alley, but not before some of Yafia's underlings identify Legoshi's greatest weakness, that being the White Rabbit. After the botched date, Legosi then makes it a point to hang out with his friends from Cherryton Academy and play a little catch. You know, doggy style.
Very deep penetration and targets the G-spot.
The chapter and the arc ends with a lady dropping an orange on the stairwell, and Legosi and his friends humorously chasing after it. And that's the end of the Life as a Dropout arc. While I wanted to include the Revenge of the Love Failure arc in this portion of the video series, I figured it'd be better to wait for the conclusion of that specific arc, so that we wouldn't have to split the arc into two separate videos. But with that said, guys, thanks for listening again, and I'll catch you on the flip side.